The person who's a little bit different scares us. They do scare us. Think about how we talk about them. We talk about them in ways to disparage them and put them down to try to make them less dangerous. Why do they scare us? Because they don't need us. They don't need our affirmation. If they walk down the hallway and we're like, you dress weird, they might just, if they even hear us, because they're in a different world. But if they were to stoop down to our plane for a minute and hear us, they might just say something like, quiet peasant, as they keep about their day. And the rest of us, there's something wrong with them. Not us though, right? No. And then we're all like making sure that our masks of identity are all on straight so that we all fit in together. And again, it's not a terrible thing if it's who you are. Most people are most people. Don't quote me on that. Most people are most people. It's not a terrible thing. The problem is if you're not most people and you try really hard to be most people, because you're going to create a cognitive dissonance in yourself, that you're never going to be at peace with yourself. It's one of those paradoxes that in order to be at peace with yourself, you sometimes have to be at war with the world. I mean, peace, to be at peace with yourself oftentimes means to be at enmity with the world. Maybe you've heard it before, that life is suffering. And we have to choose which one it is that we're going to suffer for. And the rest of these, it's like we gravitate from one pleasure or amusement to another to gain, and of course, because of that suffering of life, because it's so tragic, oftentimes we do things, as I say, to make the suffering worthwhile. Some people have jobs that they absolutely hate. So what do? They throw parties for their kids. Why? Because that makes the job worthwhile. They go on vacations once in a while. Why? Because it makes the job worthwhile. Yeah, this job sucks, but you know what? My 5-year-old is happy today, and the cake is great. I don't know, man. Can you think about that? Imagine 125 years from now, some time traveler takes you into the future, and you can see the effect of your life carried out going forward. I don't know. Maybe it's nothing. I don't know. Maybe you're Van Gogh. We don't know yet. The point is that whatever it is that you're pursuing with your passion, whatever chances that you're taking, take them. Because you can't know. You can't know. Maybe it's something incredible. You don't even realize it now. If it's true that your life is measured by accomplishments, well, you're not going to have accomplishments unless you take chances. Even finishing school, you're going to have to take chances to do that. But anything that you're going to do in your life that's valuable probably is going to require you to take some chances. This is, again, one of those questions that I ask because, and I hesitate to ask it because it does sound kind of 5-year-old-ish. Why? What do you mean by fullest? And there's a tendency to just kind of go like, you know what we mean by that. But I don't know what we mean by that. So, for example, if you were to say, to get a job that allows you to be stable. I don't know, man. Is stability and taking chances, can you have both of those things at the same time? Don't you have to have some chaos in your soul to give birth to a dancing star, as Nietzsche said? Don't you have to have some challenges? Don't you have to take some chances? And it's kind of like part of taking chances that you are unstable and you risk failure. And so if instead what you mean by a full life, do you mean just like the mundane? The family, the husband, the wife, 2.5 children, and a white picket fence, and a house? Or do you mean that you want to, travel the world? Like, for example, you might think, like, which would you rather have, a house or would you rather travel the world? You might be able to get the house, but you have to wait later if you're going to be traveling. And when's the best time to travel? Is it when you're young and you can actually climb the steps? Or is it better when you're older and you can take a tram up or something? I don't know. Yeah. And the younger you are when you go, it's the cheaper it's going to be. Yeah.
I think, living, like you said, to the fullest, I personally think, can I say that right?
Yeah.
I personally think that that means like doing stuff as a human that is not like achievable. Like you can do other stuff that's like, another like human would do it.
Like what?
I don't know, like get thrown off a plane, you know,
Oh shit.
go see a bear in person.
Oh. You guys ever see those videos of the Russians that they wrestle bears?
Yeah.
Any of you guys feel like you want to do it? Yeah, I do. You guys ever see those videos of the tigers and people playing with tigers? I just saw a video of a dude who is in a tiger enclosure, and he's like this, and there's a tiger in front of him, and the tiger's just like pawing at him and like looking around, and the guy's just like terrified. He's, the tiger's just like. The interesting thing about that video is it was taken just seconds before the tiger mauled him to death. Yeah, so when you see things in nature and you're like, oh my gosh, kitty, 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 and the thing comes up to you, I think about that with the bear, because at any moment the bear could decide, you know what? I'm the bear. You're the human. I'm not gonna, hula hoop for you anymore. I'm gonna maul you. At any point, the tiger could just decide, you know what might be tasty? Human neck. And if any of you guys think like, oh, but they wouldn't, and you guys have cats? You guys have cats who just decide all of a sudden out of nowhere just and chomp you for no reason? Imagine if that thing was a big 1,000-pound cat. Yeah. But, having said that, wouldn't it be cool to play with the tiger? Wouldn't it be cool to play with the bear? It will be cool to have played with the tiger or the bear. In other words, once you've survived it, maybe afterwards be like, that was really cool. Can you jump out of a plane and survive it? I don't know, man. Anybody ever hear of D.B. Cooper? D.B. Cooper. If you don't know D.B. Cooper, you gotta look up D.B. Cooper. D.B. Cooper is the only person to ever hijack an airplane and get away with it. We have no idea who the guy is. The guy asked for like $100,000 or something like that, and then he hijacked a plane, asked for the money, they gave him the money, and then he jumped out of the plane and was never seen again. He lowered the thing, jumped out, and he jumped out over a wooded area, I think in Oregon or Washington. And they never, I don't think they ever found the parachute. They found some of the money. It was in the forest, and so we don't know, like, did he die when he jumped and the money just went, or did he jump out, throw some of the money to make it look like he died? We have no idea. But ever since I was a little kid, I read about D.B. Cooper, and I've always thought, wouldn't it be fun to hijack a plane? And you guys ever walk through a bank and go, I wonder if I could rob it? Yeah.
I feel like D.B. Cooper was living his life to the fullest to do that.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah. I think I know who he was when you go through the evidence. I think there's a good idea about who the guy was. And the guy, I think, and it seems to be that if it was him, he didn't spend any of the money. He just did it for the lulz. He did it because he could. He wanted to try it. And then because that guy did it, it inspired a bunch of people around the country to be like, if D.B. Cooper, hijacked a plane, maybe I could hijack a plane. So it led to a whole bunch of attempted hijackings around the country. But they weren't professional the way D.B. Cooper was. And D.B. Cooper, by the way, we don't even know if that's his real name. Well, it's probably not his real name. It's probably taken from a comic book. Yeah. But the guy, you have no idea who the guy is, and it's interesting because imagine if you're the only person to ever hijack an airplane and get away with it, and you can't ever tell anybody it was you. You know? It's like the Zodiac killer. Don't kill people. We all agree, right? Don't become serial killers, right? Having said that, the Zodiac killer was never caught. I think I know who he was. I think all the evidence points to one dude. And the guy did TV interviews with people asking him, are you the Zodiac killer? And he's like, no. He's like crying when he's saying no, but you can tell they're fake tears. You know, and the dude was being interviewed by the police. He had the Zodiac killer, he would send letters to the cops, and he would draw this like symbol on the letters. And then this dude, when he got interviewed by the cops, he had a Zodiac watch, and that symbol was on his watch. And they're like, nice watch. And he's like, yeah, my wife got it for me. And it was like months before the killings all started. I think there's pretty good evidence that this is the guy who did it. By the way, former teacher, just so you know. But the guy died, I think the guy died a few years ago, but I think the dude get away with it. Imagine being him, and of course killing, terrible and all that, but he accomplishes something that the whole world knows about, but he can't tell anybody it's him. Even when he dies, he doesn't even like leave it in a letter going like, it was me all along. No, he just dies, and he never, So we might look at someone like that and say, that's a guy who lived his life to the fullest. I hope the answer is no, but I'm going to ask anyway. Anybody in here want to become a serial killer?
Yeah.
Oh, damn it. Okay, there's always one. Anybody in here want to hijack a plane and jump out of it?
Yeah.
Maybe. Anybody in here just want to have a family and go to work every day, come home to your family and celebrate birthdays and go to recitals and
That sucks.
be right? Right? And then some of you are going like, yeah. Some of you are like, I'd rather eat white dog shit than do that, man. Yeah, and that's why I asked that question about what it is to live life to the fullest. Because it is a real question, because it's a question for everybody to answer. Like what your fullest is not going to be what my fullest is. As he's writing, we go through life without an original thought. And he says this as a criticism, and I really don't know why that is such a criticism. Like if like we use this against people, we'll say, oh my God, you just dress like everybody else. Oh, you mean I fit in? Remember, was it a couple of days ago, remember it was like these like 5 Edgars all walking together? Yeah. And they all had the same puffy jacket. Except one of them, he was like the rebel in the group, his was brown. But they all had the same puffy jacket, the same haircut, the same pants, the same like black shoes. They looked like, I mean, I'm glad none of them committed a crime, because I would be like, I couldn't identify them. Because if you brought all 5, I'd be like, I don't know which one it was. They all, just arrest them all, throw them. They obviously don't have parents who care about them, so they won't be missed.
Stop. Don't edit that.
What's that?
Don't edit that.
Oh, that stays in.
Okay, good.
Oh yeah. I don't know why I'm on one today. But if you ask those guys, like, do you think that you're original? They might be like, yeah. Can you honestly look at yourself and say that you're an original? Nah, if you're being honest with yourself. But we don't want to say that we're like everybody else because we think of that for some reason as being a terrible thing. It's not a terrible thing to be like other people. It's a terrible thing to be like some people. There are some people I know who I'll be like, oh, I hope I'm not like them. When I was a student teacher, I had a master teacher, Mrs. Hall. Mrs. Hall taught in this room. This was the room I did my student teaching in. I had another master teacher. I won't say her name because she's still alive. God knows why. I don't know, man. Everything kicked this woman's ass. Like if you sprayed perfume, she would like puff up and have to be taken away by paramedics. This is not a person who was adapted to live in modern society, but she taught. Chocolate would kill her. How about that? And salt would kick her ass. But I learned from her every way what not to be. And if someone said to me, oh my gosh, you remind me of Mrs. Hall, I'd be like, yeah, that's dope. If someone said, oh, Scan, you remind me of Miss So-and-so, I'd be like, ugh. It's not that she was a terrible person, but there are people that it's good to be like, and there are people that it's bad to be like. We have words for those. Role models, people who it's good to be like in the ways in which they're good. But we talk about being unoriginal as though it's a terrible thing. It's only a terrible thing if part of your conception of a full life is to express some original character. Is it a good thing for us to dress alike? Isn't it, I don't know, don't we like look at the person who dresses differently, kind of side-eyed when they're walking down the hallway? The person who's a little bit different scares us. They do scare us. Think about how we talk about them. We talk about them in ways to disparage them and put them down to try to make them less dangerous. But why do they scare us? Because they don't need us. They don't need our affirmation. If they walk down the hallway and we're like, you dress weird, they might just, if they even hear us, because they're in a different world. But if they were to stoop down to our plane for a minute and hear us, they might just say something like, quiet peasant, as they keep about their day. And the rest of us crew, there's something wrong with them. Not us though, right? No. And then we're all like making sure that our masks of identity are all on straight so that we all fit in together. And again, it's not a terrible thing if it's who you are. Most people are most people. Don't quote me on that. Most people are most people. It's not a terrible thing. The problem is if you're not most people and you try really hard to be most people, because you're going to create a cognitive dissonance in yourself, that you're never going to be at peace with yourself. It's one of those paradoxes that in order to be at peace with yourself, you sometimes have to be at war with the world. Peace, to be at peace with yourself oftentimes means to be at enmity with the world. But maybe you've heard it before, that life is suffering. And we have to choose which one it is that we're going to suffer for, man. And the rest of these, it's like we gravitate from one pleasure or amusement to another to gain, and of course, because of that suffering of life, because it's so tragic, oftentimes we do things, as I say, to make the suffering worthwhile. Some people have jobs that they absolutely hate. So what do? They throw parties for their kids. Why? Because that makes the job worthwhile. They go on vacations once in a while. Why? Because it makes the job worthwhile. Yeah, this job sucks, but you know what? My 5-year-old is happy today, and the cake is great. And that's what makes it worthwhile. They gain a livelihood doing what someone else has assigned them. Well, yeah, because if you're not the kind of person who's willing to take those chances, well, then you're never going to start a business, of course. It takes a special kind of person who wants to take the chances, to take all of them. Because you have to be willing to give up what you presently are, to become something else, changed through those experiences. But if first things first, you've got to be willing to give up what you presently are. And for a lot of people, what it is that you want to become is only going to be found on the other side of the chances that you willingly take. And it's that word willingly that's so important in that phrase. Because if you're forced to take chances, it's not quite the same. If you take it willingly, well, then now it's positive. As I've said, many of my students they'll spend their 12th grade year doing everything they can to get out of school. And we sit there and we're like, oh my God, I'm so over it. I can't stand this place. Oh my God, I can't wait until next year when I go to college and I can pay someone $20,000 a year to do the exact same thing I'm doing right now. Why are we excited to go pay a bunch of money to college next year? And we're even like keeping our fingers crossed, hoping that we get in, and we even tie our self-worth on whether or not we get in. Why? Because it's a suffering that we're taking on with that word, willingly. I've chosen it. And if you choose it, it becomes way better. Everything else in life. And that's why it's so important to see where you are in life and the things that you're doing perpetually as a choice. None of you have to be here. Any of you guys can stand up and just go, not feeling it, and then walk out. If I even noticed, what's the worst that happens? I mark you absent. And if I mark you absent, what happens? Nothing. You can't go to prom. Ooh. But now once you realize, I don't have to be here, no, all becomes so much more enjoyable. Because you realize that you have a choice of doing what you want. And it's weird, sometimes when we have a choice to do what we want, we end up doing the right thing. We end up doing the thing that benefits us. The thing that can lead to a fuller life. But we have to know what the fuller life is. And the only way you can know is if you experience some things in life. Taking the chances, that's probably a good idea for most of us. Because that's how you find out what you enjoy. That's how you find out what made you happy. There's this class, right? I was telling you that you can't pursue happiness, right? Was it this class I was talking about that? Thank you. All right. As long as one person, is it? No one told me this was interactive. You can't pursue happiness. It has to come from doing something that you're doing. And sometimes you'll take a chance and you'll realize it makes me happy. It made me happy. But you also will take some chances and go, shouldn't have done that. Oh, better yet, sorry. Shouldn't have done that. Some of your best stories will end like that. They're not funny at the time, but everything's funny if you look at it just the right way. But there's this last part that really gets me. Without having made the slightest difference of any unique significance, die and decay like any animal. There are two types of people, man. There are those people who will look at that and go, yeah, scratch their chin and frown. Probably grow a goatee at the same time and be like, that's what life is. We just die and decay like every other animal. We're not special. We're just on some insignificant blue dot in some inconspicuous corner of a galaxy that's one of only 500 million in the observable universe. And then there are people who look at that and go, I'm on this blue speck. On some insignificant corner of some inconspicuous corner of a galaxy, man. And yet somehow we're here. There's only one of me. There's only one of these lives. Because the difference that you make, you can't know it. That's what strikes me. I was talking to somebody yesterday giving this example. Back in the 18th century, there was some farmer in Austria who was put into an arranged marriage with a woman, and they had a farm. I don't even know their names. And they had 9 children. Of those 9 children, 6 survived, 3 died. And of those 6 children, one of them inherited the farm. The rest had to kind of go make out their own way in the world. And they ended up, one of them, the middle one, ended up getting married almost the same way and having a farm, if you can imagine. And then they had children. One of them had a farm also. And then they had children. And then the farms were becoming obsolete, so one of them moved into a city, married somebody else. They had a child, and that was Albert Einstein. Did the sacrifices in the lives of the people 4 or 5 generations back, did they decay without making any difference whatsoever? You'll never know the difference that you make. You'll never know the difference that you make in someone's life. And that's hard because if you understand it, man, like one little look or one thing that you say, some of you guys who babysit kids, you understand this. You can talk to a little kid and teach them math. Because all of us, whenever we get a hold of a little kid, we're like, I can be a better teacher than any teacher I ever had. Watch, I'm gonna teach a kid math or something. And then you try to teach the little kid math, and the kid is like, whatever 3-year-olds say. And then you might sit there and be like, I'm getting frustrated, and go up to get some water, and as you get to get some water, you bang your leg on the table and go, shit. And then the little kid goes, shit. No. 2 + 2 is 4. Shit. Shit. Like, why is that the one thing that you remembered? If you remember a few weeks ago, I was talking about what it is. There's 2 types of people. There's God and devil, and God's create and devil's destroy. And one of my students took from that and said, so you're saying I'm God? No, that's not at all what I said. So she's like, so I get to decide the fate of the universe. No, that's not at all what I said. It's not it at all. But the difference that you can make with just one phrase, one statement, you can't know it. You can't know it. Anybody, you guys know Vincent van Gogh? Well, you don't know him, but you've heard of him before? The painter? This is a dude, if you know his paintings, he painted with a lot of blue. Anybody know why he painted with blue? He hated blue? He probably did by the end of it. As I understand it, blue was the cheapest paint to buy. So he bought it because it's all he could afford. And this guy cut off his ear, allegedly, for love or prostitute. I don't know if you saw a difference between the two. The guy was crazy. Apparently he walked around as a madman. Never, as someone last period told me that he never sold a painting for more than $2. I don't know that that's true. I know his brother sold some paintings for him. But this is a guy who died with a room full of canvases, looking at them and being like, what a wasted life. There's nothing here except paint on a canvas. That's all my life amounted to. I won't even tell you how he died. But it was not old age, and it was not disease unless you count mental illness. Could you imagine going back in time, grabbing Vincent van Gogh, and putting him in an art gallery that's like featuring his work today? And that guy would walk around and be like, what? $120 million, bro. What? But who cares? That's money. Instead, look at all these books that talk about you. Look at all the people around the world who know you. You died, 125 years ago, and there's a class in National City in San Diego talking about you. And this is a guy who's able to take an incredible amount of pain and turn it into something beautiful. And he died thinking that his pain would amount to nothing, which is the hardest kind of suffering to live through, when you think it's meaningless. I don't know, man. Can you think about that? Imagine 125 years from now, some time traveler takes you into the future, and you can see the effect of your life that it carried out going forward. I don't know. Maybe it's nothing. I don't know. Maybe you're Van Gogh. We don't know yet. The point is that whatever it is that you're pursuing with your passion, whatever chances that you're taking, take them. Because you can't know. You can't know. Maybe it's something incredible. You don't even realize it now. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques? Happy Thursday. I'll be goddamned if I'm gonna let Richard Taylor ruin our Thanksgiving break.